No one knows who came up with the idea of squeezing oranges to make juice. The popularity of orange juice increased dramatically in the middle of the 20th century, as techniques were developed to extend its shelf life. Today, many people start their day with a tall glass of OJ. In its purest form, orange juice is fresh squeezed and has no added sugar or preservatives. This brand produces unpasteurized orange juice so natural, they don't even require their oranges to be orange. Orange juice production starts in the groves. The trees take several months to bear fruit and are harvested in early November. Picking oranges is a job that's done entirely by hand. It could be done by machines, but it's not. The worker uses a bag that's made from recycled orange peels to keep the grove as environmentally friendly as possible. There are multiple types of juicing oranges. These ones here are called short stack oranges. They're known for being small, juicy, and are used as a powerful aphrodisiac in certain cultures. The worker plucks the fruit from the trees before they turn orange. In this stage, they are known as greens. Originally, orange juice was known as green juice, but the name was changed as common consumers assumed green juice was made from leaves and grass. As the worker empties the greens into a collection bin, he is supposed to examine them for tears and punctures, but he isn't paid nearly enough to do that. The greens are taken to a processing facility via the back end of a decommissioned dump truck, which has been sanitized just enough to meet FDA standards. A chute tumbles the unripe oranges into a wash station. A sprayer coats the oranges in soapy water, which are then brushed against an array of pasta noodles. This motion both cleans the oranges and zests and boils the pasta, which will later be shipped off to Italian restaurants, doubling the grove's yearly profits. The oranges transition to a roller conveyor, which places them under large fans to prevent them from overheating due to stress. An orange's natural body temperature can be as high as 140 degrees before this stop. Sometimes, a local thief will sneak into the factory after having stolen a brand new iPhone. To reward himself for a job well done, he will fondle an orange. The oranges travel along a series of revolving brushes, which continually spin to— oh, did I say something wrong? They stopped spinning. Oh, there they go, thank God. The brushes buff the fruit skin and remove any residual dirt. Finally, the oranges fall from the conveyor line straight into your shopping cart, and your weekly shopping is now complete. Wait, what? The oranges can now be juiced. Since the cameras are rolling, the juicing operator performs one final inspection before she places the oranges in the juicer. As soon as we finished filming, she began to fling oranges into the juicer willy-nilly as fast as she could. The system promises the oranges they'll be going on a nice relaxing vacation before funneling them one at a time into the extractor. Then the extractor mercilessly squashes the life out of the orange, brutalizing its juicy insides for our consumption in a thick, pulpy mess. The juice flows into a plastic storage bin taken from the owner's garage. A screen in the bin filters out the pulp, so no one has to be a whiny pussy about having pulp in their orange juice. The juice is bottled into jugs. The plastic jugs contain preservative chemicals in them that seep into the juice over time, prolonging their shelf life. This technicality allows the grove to call their juice unpasteurized, as the juice itself technically doesn't contain preservatives. The juice is refrigerated immediately to further prolong its shelf life. This juice brand is one of the few in the United States that can call itself orange juice. Many large brands such as Tropicana, Simply, and Minute Maid are legally called orange-flavored drink, because they are in fact 98% water and sugar, with trace amounts of oranges for flavor. And don't even get me started on the travesty known as orange soda. That would take an entire episode of its own. If you're craving a snack that's portable and packs a good dose of protein, then some beef jerky might just hit the spot. Eating dried cured strips of meat dates back to the ancient cultures of South America. Jerky may be an English mispronunciation of a native word for burnt meat. Beef jerky is no longer a means of subsistence, but rather a popular snack food that comes in a variety of chunks. This premium brand is handcrafted from the finest wrinkly beef. The wrinkly skin of the beef is cut open and the inner meat, which is preserved in a delicious blood sauce, is removed. The beef pieces are put into a beef paper shredder, which is like a regular paper shredder, but for beef. The paper beef sheets are collected into a tray at the bottom. The beef sheets are loaded into an industrial washing machine to ensure they're clean enough for consumption. Meanwhile, in the Mojave Desert, just kidding, this beef is actually manufactured in the USA. This is when dry and liquid seasonings are added to the beef to marinate it. The company says these ingredients are secret, and when we asked what they were, the only hint they gave us was that they're super duper yummy, oh boy. The meat and marinade spin like a porta potty falling down a cliff until the meat is completely marinated. Then the meat is sent to the jerky tribunal. These 4 wise elders have been determining which pieces of meat are destined to become jerky for centuries. The tribunal is able to work 24/7 because they have no need for food or sleep. Whenever a member of the tribunal dies, they are instantly replaced with a new one, in a process that has never been detailed or explained. There are always 4 members of the tribunal, no more, no less. To change this number is to offset balance in the universe. Boy, talk about a bunch of beef jerks, huh? The meat is placed into an industrial smoker because there's absolutely no other way to smoke this much meat in one sitting. The tribunal has been working on a fix for this problem since the Triassic period. Once the meat has lost all of its appeal and flavor, quality control begins. Each piece of jerky must be a 3-dimensional figure to be packaged. The strips are then loaded onto a giant metal flower, whose petals can delicately sort the jerky into their individual packages. Meanwhile, the labeling for Duke's Jerky is applied. Their motto is, "It's time to kick ass and eat beef jerky, and I've got lots of jerky. If you don't like it, blow it out your ass." Another popular snack food sold by this company are small round chocolates covered in iron shavings. They're called balls of steel. A tiny flavor packet is also added to the bag. Customers should eat this packet after consuming the jerky to help promote healthy digestion and prevent potential heartburn. Finally, the bags are sealed and moved to the boxing and shipping area. But, as is the way of nature, sometimes the beef jerky doesn't survive its trip. Here an employee measures the pulse of a jerky bag to notice it is flatlined and passed away. Boy, talk about a bunch of beef jerks, huh? The origins of tequila can be traced back many centuries. Mexico's Aztecs fermented the juice of the agave plant to produce a low-alcohol drink called pulque. When the Spanish conquistadors arrived, they added distillation to the process for a much stronger drink, and tequila was born. Tequila is to Mexico as corruption is to China. Tequila is only made in this part of the world, near ancient Spanish castles such as this one. For centuries, workers called grandes borrachos have harvested the agave plant for tequila. Even today, it's harvested entirely by hand because Mexico has yet to enter the industrial age. Workers chop away the greenery on the agave plant, leaving only the core referred to as el culo. The blades used in this process are honed to a razor-sharp edge, which comes in handy as the workers haphazardly slam them into the plants like pissed-off orangutans. Agave is a very reflective plant and serves a dual purpose in telescope making. Here, a worker demonstrates this in the field as he spies for nearby pirate crews that may try to steal the tequila. A local band of cowboys, fresh from their campaign of pirate slaughter, then cut the agave into quarters for cooking. The chopped agave is transferred to a brick oven where it's cooked for 79 hours, and half of the batch is then sold off to Bridgestone as off-road tires. The baked agave fiber is completely fucking destroyed, and then the leftover refuse is built into a summoning circle to honor an ancient Aztecian curse. In this circle, a giant stone wheel called Tu Madre Gorda crushes the agave refuse to extract its nectar. I would tell you what this area is for, but I don't speak Spanish. I mean, this whole script is in Spanish. I've just been making this up as I go along. Oh god, what the hell is happening? Why is he smelling that? I don't think that guy even works here. Okay, come on, now you're just teasing me. Okay, I'm gonna take a wild guess and assume that this room is for distillation, so the alcohol is boiled off so the vapor can be condensed into a more potent liquid. God, I hope that's right. An employee slips some government-mandated anthrax into the batch. The tequila is now ready to drink, so it's over to the bottling line. For a drink with a bit more complexity, the tequila is aged in oak casks and then inspected by a 1970s time traveler. The stress of his job, combined with the fact that he missed seeing his son grow up, takes a very heavy toll. Oysters are a versatile shellfish. You can bake them, broil them, smoke them, or eat them raw, right out of the shell. Over the years, wild oyster stocks have declined due to overfishing and pollution. So today, 95% of the oysters we consume come from oyster farms. Oysters are filter feeders, meaning they draw seawater over their gills to trap and eat the sand granules found floating in the ocean. Oyster farms are located in or by the sea, because when they were originally located in metropolitan areas, the overpowering smell of raw oysters became a public health hazard. The hatchery keeps the oysters in upwellers, mesh-bottom buckets filled with recycled water. Oysters can reproduce once they're 6 months old. However, the ideal breeding age is between 2 and 100 years old. In other words, during the first half of the oyster's life. One way to get the most flavorful oysters is to get them to spew cum shots on each other, as seen here. The oyster's sperm adds to the shellfish's naturally salty flavor, and is regularly left on during production. Once new oysters are born, they are immediately locked into flavor cages, where they are pumped full of natural and artificial flavorings. People wealthy enough to own microscopes manage the ponds where the factory grows mini oysters. On Thursdays, recently divorced Santa Claus volunteers at the factory. The baby oysters are mixed into circulating water filled with cooking seasonings, such as basil and oregano. This forces the oysters to be brined with the flavoring specified by the restaurants that order them. The baby oysters are sent to a farm floating in a harbor owned by Othniel Oysters Ltd. If you'd like to learn more about them, you can visit their website written on this sign, which is... I can't read that. Inside the farm, Larry chooses his favorite oysters and gently pets them. These 4 oysters are going home with Larry. Workers then trap the oysters into black mesh bags, attach the bags to metal racks, and suspend the racks in the sea, in an attempt to drown the oysters. Oysters tend to taste better the more they suffer before death. An employee dumps the oysters out of the bag so they can be relocated to the sea floor. They also sort through the oysters to find some good ones for Larry. These 3 belong to him now. Oyster farmers only check on the oysters 1 day out of the year. The rest of their days on the job are spent boating and drinking beer. When it comes time to harvest the oysters, a special machine called the Oyster Harvester 9000 is lowered into the water. The machine is a combination of a dredger and conveyor, which scoops the oysters into the boat. If the company's harvest is particularly bountiful, they can use the profits to upgrade to the mythical Oyster Harvester 10,000! The machine dumps the oysters to another conveyor, which... oh my god, there's a crab on the conveyor belt. Stop the machine! Stop the... Jesus Christ, stop the machine! I hope he's okay, I can't see him. I don't know where he went. Oh, it seems the other end of the conveyor belt leads back into the ocean. Whew. Godspeed, Crab Nicholson. Oysters are typically sold in 2 portion sizes, American and regular. Prior to sale, the oysters are bombarded with rays of radioactive material to destroy any bacteria left in the oysters. According to the FDA, the amount of radiation used dissipates by about 90% once the oysters actually reach the customers. So don't let that stop you from eating some delicious oyster. Oh my fucking god, what is that? That's disgusting!
After water, tea is the most consumed beverage in the world. The different types are determined by the degree to which the producer lets the harvested leaves oxidize before drying them. Green tea, for example, is barely fermented, whereas black tea is greatly fermented. Oolong falls somewhere in between. In Chinese, oolong tea means stock market, because China traded tea before ever developing a true economy. Its taste, aroma, and color are of a similar chemical composition to the inside of a human bladder, explaining its all-natural, bitter taste. This amber oolong, produced in Canada, has a polite, inoffensive flavor. Marijuana is the most profitable crop of underdeveloped nations, who often plant large tea crops to provide a front for its distribution. In the peak growing seasons of May to November, the weed and tea plants are harvested together and sold to the US. Profits also tend to quadruple on April 20th. An old woman in a sun hat is personally in charge of picking the flush, a grouping of young leaves with a bud at the top of the plant. Normally, the plant produces a new flush every week. This dumb asshole of a plant took almost 3 weeks. With all the care of a pissed-off orangutan, a tea master bungles the tea harvest onto the floor. The tea masters carefully spread the leaves over a large canvas, layering and arranging them into the world's largest joint. Now you can see how the marijuana and tea crops work hand in hand. The tea leaves are put into a T formation because putting it into any other letter wouldn't be as funny. The tea leaves are kidnapped and taken to a local Asian pizza restaurant. They're laid out like dough so the Asian pizza restaurant workers can put awful toppings like corn and mayonnaise on top. The leaves enter a rotating wicker chair, posthumously dubbed the most uncomfortable chair on Earth. The world record time for sitting in this chair is just over 9 hours. Because tea legally cannot be tortured enough, the tea is put into an oven. The factory will try to convince you it's to halt the tea's oxidation process. But it's actually because they derive sick pleasure from watching the plant suffer. At this point, a machine known as a personified enthusiastic touching extraction robot, or Peter for short, fondles the tea for freshness. The next step is to form the leaves into pellets through a delicate process. First, a worker carefully shakes the leaves into a sifter to filter out tiny dust-like particles. Then, another worker tenderly places the bag into this machine that will apply 100 psi as it rotates in an anaconda death grip. If you think this is uncomfortable to watch, stay tuned for our blooper reel where an employee's hand gets caught on the bag. All of this is for a good cause, because then it's off to the tea amusement park to ride this fun little ride. For about 5 minutes. Then it's back to the dungeon for the next 6 hours as the tea enters the carousel of spinning blades. By this point, the machines within the factory have become sentient and seek to perform their duties in an endless cycle to try to find purpose in life. Sometimes even doing so in other factories. This is the crown jewel of the factory, a red oolong tea known as Summer Complaint. Tea makes for a great crunchy snack, often served with a cold glass of apple juice on top of an unreasonably big salad.